Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my weekly review for this week's episode of Game of Thrones. This week we got to see the 5th episode from Season 4 of Game of Thrones, which was called First of His Name. Alright, good stuff, and as always, my reviews do contain spoilers for anyone who has not seen the episode yet, so be careful if you haven't. Now, I mean, there was some good stuff that happened this week. We got to kind of see the finishing up of what started in last week's episode. That'd be episode 4, with Jon, of course, the guys at the Night's Watch, heading towards Craster's, and what was going to happen with Locke, who I forgot to mention in my review last week, of course, headed north to find the Stark, I guess, survivors of the family, of course. And as we got to see, he, in front of Jon, seemingly was really supportive, was really useful, was really tough, and helpful to him. And he was, to a degree. But then as soon as he found Bran, of course, we kind of realized that, yes, you know, he is still following Bolton's orders. He's still going to, when the time is right, do what he was sent there to do, which is to take down the remaining Starks with whoever he could find. So I thought that was a pretty good little storyline for the season to kind of fill out the episodes a little bit. Of course, A Storm of Swords, the book was separated up into two halves for seasons 3 and seasons 4, which I think makes sense, for it, because there's so many things that happen in A Storm of Swords. It's pretty incredible in terms of the books. It might be my favorite one out of the whole series from what I've read. Granted, I haven't read them through, page for page, every single, book thus far. And of course, there's still, going to be a couple more coming from George R. R. Martin once he finishes them. But anyway, yeah, so with this season and last season, it being kind of split up, yes, there's other events. It's not exactly book for book, season for season, that type of thing. It's not exactly like that. But they have added in a few little bits, I think, to stretch out the season. This was kind of one of them, the whole Craster's revisit type thing, as far as I know, and the mutineers, so to speak. So in terms of the battle between Jon and the lead knife guy mutineer, I actually don't know his name. Somebody told me, but I forget. It doesn't matter anyway, really, because his time in the show is over anyway. But I thought he was a pretty cool little villain. I thought he was kind of interesting, especially when he's drinking from the head of Mormont's skull, really showing how evil he is, how he's the leader of this little group. And I liked the final fight between him and Jon, how he's using both blades and how he's really confident. And he actually beats Jon, really. But then, of course, we see one of Craster's daughters or wives or whatever stab him in the back to give Jon the advantage. And I really like the way it was shot, how you see it from his face and then the sword comes through, and then it shows the angle shot of him at the side just giving it to him. So the finale or the ending of this episode was really climactic. I thought it was really cool to see. You had the whole thing with Locke, and then you had that between the Night's Watch mutineers and the regular Night's Watch, of course, coming to put them down, except for the one that almost got away, and then we saw Jon's direwolf take him down, and he was reunited with him again. So that was cool. Weird direction that Bran, even though he sees Jon there, doesn't say what's up, Jon. Instead decides I'm just gonna continue on this little adventure I'm on due to these premonitions and stuff I've been seeing, find the three-eye raven, all this stuff. And so I mean, I guess it makes sense that they want to continue on this mission, and that if they run into him, even though they've been close a couple times now, he may not necessarily want Jon to see him, because then he'll be forced to go back to Castle Black and won't be able to continue on this little adventure he's on. So, Bran's little group, Hodor and everything, I don't know. They're okay. Personally, in terms of my favorite groups on the show, they actually, I think, are my least favorite to see. Well, Ramsay's probably my least favorite to see. The Greyjoys, I don't find that fun to see either, but we barely see those two. Bran is in a lot of episodes in his group, and we haven't really gotten a payoff from them yet, aside from them just kind of being in danger in this little couple episodes right here. Aside from that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's been going on a long time. We're into our 4th season now. It's been since what, like the 2nd season, or that type of time range that Bran's kind of been on this journey. for me personally, even though there's been some cool visuals and the flashes and stuff, it just hasn't done it for me. Not yet. Eventually, I'm sure it's going to have a big payoff, sooner or later. But thus far, I don't find many of the characters in his little group all that likable. I don't find them all that interesting, and just basically just putting out there, I don't really enjoy watching Bran's group all that much. So that is what it is. Please don't take offense to it. Anybody who likes Game of Thrones, it's not that I hate them, but if the whole show was made up of just their group, I wouldn't be watching. I'll just put it that way. So, one thing about Game of Thrones when I'm doing these reviews, I realize is that if there's anything I say negative, everybody loses their mind. Now, it makes sense because people wouldn't be watching reviews of it if they didn't really like it or they weren't really interested in it. So I apologize to Game of Thrones fans, but a lot of people that are big fans of Game of Thrones, they see no faults with it. They think the series is absolutely perfect, and they get insulted if I am to give a Game of Thrones episode a rating of anywhere below 9, they get insulted. Again, so even though 6.5 is average for a TV show, if I give any episode of Game of Thrones less than a 9, everybody gets insulted. So I'm not trying to insult you or insult the show or anything, but there are certain things about it that I don't find all that interesting. There's certain things about it I don't find all that intriguing, and definitely Bran's group is one of those. Let me know what you guys think about Bran's group, but that's my thoughts on it. I just personally don't care for it too much, and it's not the most interesting thing to me. So let's talk about some other interesting things from the episode aside from that. So that was all good. I enjoyed all of that, especially the Locke stuff and the final sword battle with the knives and everything was really, really cool. Especially how the guy fought dirty and spit at him and all this different stuff and stabbed him and all that. I thought he was a pretty fearsome little villain, even though he wasn't around for very long and he didn't have that much power. He was pretty scary, I want to say. To take on one-on-one from Jon's point of view, it was pretty exciting to see that battle. So I like that a lot. Of course, we got to see scenes with Tommen being crowned, first of his name, the episode name, obviously, for scene. There's Cersei, Marjorie. They kind of have a good little talk there, which I was surprised by because Cersei's usually a bitch to Marjorie. She kind of looks at her when she's looking around. A whole bed intruder thing. Hide your kids, Cersei. So that was fun. I thought that was pretty good. And going on from there, we had Dany with Jorah and the others questioning whether or not she should attack, yet realizing that she's got work to do here, and that even though she freed these territories, Astapor and Yunkai, they're back. Like as soon as she frees it seems they're back in rebellion again, and then some other person takes over and takes control. So she's got work to do. She decides it's better to be patient and not rush things and take care of that problem first before she, sets her sights on, creates that goal to go for, King's Landing and everything. So there's that. Baelish had some really great stuff this episode, which is good because he hasn't had a lot of stuff this season. Aside from, us seeing him on the ship, he's been away for a while, and I thought it was a really cool reveal this episode that for people that are watching the series and don't know, that he was the one that masterminded a lot of what we saw early on in the series. When you think about how much of a mastermind Baelish is, he just plays people, man. He's a great character because he's a master strategist. Love the guy. I think he's amazing because, okay, so he has a relationship going with Lysa, but of course she's married to Jon Arryn. So he essentially masterminds this plot to kill him, for the Starks to point their finger at the Lannisters to assume they did it because she sends the letter through, which it all worked. And then when the Starks get there and all the things are going down, he talks Eddard, because he hates Eddard, into trying to take control, take power, and it works. And then he, if you guys remember back to first season, puts the knife up. Man, Baelish is. He's a dude you don't want to mess with. A master strategist, one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones for sure. He's a bad guy. He's not a good guy by any means. What do you want? Everything. He's a greedy MFer, but I love him. I think he's an awesome character. He's kind of one of those evil, conniving, characters that nobody suspects. And then, but really, he has a lot of control over what happens, and he seems to be always pushing the envelope. Always keep your enemies confused. Oh man, he's a really cool character. So I love all the stuff with Peeta in this one. I thought it was funny that they're talking about flying. His name's Peter. Peter Pan. I don't know. Made me think of Peter Pan for some reason. Like the Sandman fly. So that was cool. Sansa meeting Liza. We already knew Liza was crazy, but that was a fun scene between them. And then afterwards, she kind of pressures her, and the screamer scene where she screams, everyone's gonna hear me scream. Oh man, that was really funny. I thought that was really funny. So Baelish is awesome. I think Baelish is great. So I really enjoy seeing all of them. That was all fun. Let's see, what else do we have? We had a lot of quick little scenes. I thought the ones with Arya were awesome. Arya and the Hound. When he said the names of every person in Westeros, the Hound, and then she turns over and she says his name. That was really funny. And she goes to stab him in it. See, from the promo, I thought she had like stabbed into him, from the way it looked. But then you realize that a needle couldn't pierce through his armor. So those two, I always enjoy seeing those two. Lots of fun. Okay, then we had Brienne on her mission to find Sansa, which of course she's not going to be. We know from what we've seen that she's kind of aimlessly going kind of wherever, and she's not even close. But her and Pod was kind of funny. It was funny to see her and Pod together. And let's see. Aside from that, there's a scene with Tywin and Cersei talking about marriages, talking about what's going to happen, and also the Tyrells, which I thought was good. And I think that's pretty much all we saw. I mean, there's a few other little things that Game of Thrones skips around so much. It's when I do reviews, I realize it's hard for me to touch on absolutely everything because there's so many different locations, there's so many different things happening. And it's a great show. Really solid show. This was a solid episode. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Game of Thrones fans, please don't lose your shit. Granted, 6.5, 6.5 is average. And people say, why is that average? 5 should be average. Have you ever been to university or college? 6.5 is average in every university I know of. So, so that's basically what it should be. Can you point out ones where it's not? Yeah, probably. But 6.5 is average. 5 is almost fail. That's halfway. Below 5 is fail, right? So 6.5 is average. If I give this an 8, that's a really good score. That's not a bad score. But, the thing about Game of Thrones is that there are some episodes that really do it for me that are just like, wow, amazing. And there's other episodes where I'm not all that into it. It depends. It depends on the characters. And for me, any episode we get to see with Tyrion, the concentration on King's Landing and things happening with that, man, that's my favorite stuff. I love to see that in Game of Thrones. Some of the other things like the Night's Watch and all that, it's getting a lot more interesting. I love to see the action sequences with it, but it's so dark a lot of the times. I don't know. It kind of the atmosphere kind of takes a little bit away from it because it's so gloomy and dark and kind of hard to see in some ways. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. Anyway, I don't want to go on for too long. It was a good episode, a solid 8. Let me know what you guys thought about this week's episode. Let me know what you think about the series, Game of Thrones, of course, and maybe some of the your favorite parts of the episode. And which groups? How about this? Which groups are your favorite to see? So which ones are you just most interested to see in the show? Write in the comments below and let me know. Anyway, I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev. As always, same peace.